The chains of habit are too light to be felt until they are too heavy to be broken. That's what Warren Buffett once said, and it hits hard when you think about it. Because let's be honest, my friends, so many of you are still holding on to the hope that just walking away, just going silent, will make them come running back into your arms. You've been fed this lie, told that the simple act of ignoring someone guarantees they'll miss you, guarantees they'll chase you. But let's break that illusion right here, right now. Walking away doesn't guarantee anything. If you're still here, waiting, watching, hoping they'll chase you after you pulled back, you're not alone. Many men fall into this trap, believing silence is some kind of magic spell. But here's the truth, it isn't. And if you're feeling that sting, that frustration, that confusion of why aren't they coming back, then this video is exactly for you. So before we dive deep, do me a quick favor. Press that like button, hit subscribe, and join us on this journey, because what we're about to uncover will change the way you see yourself, relationships, and attraction forever. Stay with me. Now, hey folks, imagine this for a second. Picture a stage, dimly lit. You, the main act, decide to walk off, thinking the audience will beg for your return. But here's the painful reality. If your performance never touched them, if your presence didn't stir something inside their hearts, then when you step off, silence fills the air, and the crowd simply looks for the next act. That's the brutal truth. Absence doesn't guarantee applause. Silence doesn't create desire unless your presence had weight in the first place. Too many of you believe the myth that being unavailable equals being irresistible. My friends, that's like saying an empty restaurant must be valuable just because the doors are locked. It's nonsense. A locked door doesn't create hunger. What's inside does. If your presence doesn't carry value, your absence won't create mystery. It'll only create forgetfulness. That's why you may feel invisible right now, and yes, that's hard to hear, but sometimes the hardest truths are the ones that set us free. As Epictetus said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. The silence, the rejection, the indifference, it isn't the end, it's a mirror reflecting back to you where your value truly lies. Are you just banking on absence to do the work, or are you building a life, an energy, a presence that cannot be ignored, whether you're in the room or not? Let's lighten this up for a moment. You know what ignoring someone without value is like. It's like a kid trying to play hide and seek in plain sight. They cover their eyes and think nobody can see them. Cute? Maybe? Effective? Not at all. If you want them to chase, you can't just cover your eyes and hope. You've got to build something worth chasing. And here's the real motivation, my friends. Stop waiting for them to validate your worth. Stop thinking their chase is what makes you valuable. You are valuable because of who you are, what you bring, the energy you live with every single day. When you focus on that, when you sharpen your mind, ground your emotions, and live a life that excites you, suddenly silence becomes powerful. Suddenly absence creates intrigue. And suddenly you stop caring whether they chase or not, because you've already won. So write this down in the comments right now. I am worth the chase. Let the world see it. Let yourself see it. This is your short reminder, your affirmation today. I am worth the chase. Say it, believe it, live it. And don't forget, press that like button and subscribe, because we're just getting started and you don't want to miss what's coming next. Stay with me, my friends. The best part is just ahead. Number 1, they don't feel your value. When a man does not know what harbor he is making for, no wind is the right wind. That's Seneca, and it cuts deep because so many of you are standing there wondering why they still aren't chasing you, even after you've walked away. You think you did the right thing, you pulled back, you stopped being needy, you gave them space. But here's the raw truth, my friends. If they don't feel your value, your silence is just background noise. It's not pulling them in, it's not haunting their thoughts, it's not creating desire, it's simply nothingness. Think of it like this. Imagine you leave a room. If you were a glowing fire warming everyone inside, the second you walk out, people feel the chill and start searching for you. But if you were just a flickering candle, barely giving off light, the moment you leave, no one notices the darkness. That's the painful metaphor most men don't want to face. They think absence is enough, but absence only hurts when presence had weight. Now, I know what might be running through your mind. But I did everything right. I texted less. I stopped chasing. I gave them space. Why don't they miss me? And here comes the fear, the whisper in the back of your head. Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe they don't care. Maybe I was never special. That fear is real, and it's brutal. But it's also where the lie must be broken. The truth isn't that you're not good enough. It's that you haven't yet built the kind of value that makes your absence impossible to ignore. Let me break another illusion. Too many of you believe value is about money, looks, or flashy status. But real value, the kind that makes them chase, is deeper. It's emotional gravity. It's the way you make them feel. It's the security, excitement, mystery, and depth you bring. It's the energy you carry that says, I don't need your approval because I'm already complete. Without that, ignoring them is like pressing mute on a TV nobody was watching. Sure, the sound is off, but who cares? Nobody was listening in the first place, and that's the mistake countless men make. They rely on a tactic, silence, without first laying the foundation of true value. Remember what Marcus Aurelius said, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one, that's it. You don't earn the chase by pretending. You don't earn it by games. You earn it by becoming someone whose presence is unforgettable, whose absence leaves a hole no one else can fill. Think of the difference between a cheap trinket and a priceless artifact. Lose the trinket and no one bothers to look for it. It's easily replaced. Lose the artifact and people search tirelessly because nothing else compares. Which one are you becoming? Yes, it's difficult. Yes, it's uncomfortable, because building value means you must stop looking outward for validation and start building inward strength. It means you stop playing the victim of rejection and start becoming the architect of your own worth. It means saying, if they don't chase, it's not because I failed, it's because I haven't yet shown the world who I truly am. My friends, stop believing the lie that they'll chase you just because you walked away. They'll chase only when your presence had impact, when your energy left fingerprints on their soul, when your life is so rich and full that losing access to it feels like losing oxygen. If they're not chasing, it's not the end of your story. It's the beginning of your rebuilding. So rise from the fear. Use it as fuel, because every time you catch yourself thinking, why don't they care? Why aren't they chasing me? Flip the question, what am I building that makes me unforgettable? What value am I creating that makes silence loud? That's where your power lives. And here's your affirmation today. Write it boldly in the comments. Show it to yourself. Show it to the world around you. My presence has value. My silence has power, because when you live this truth, you stop playing games and start becoming the man they can't ignore. Stay with me, because what comes next is going to shake you even harder. We've just scratched the surface of why they're not chasing. The next part will reveal the hidden traps you don't even realize you're falling into. Keep watching. The truth gets deeper. Number 2, they find you too predictable. Familiarity breeds contempt. That old proverb has lived for centuries because it cuts into the heart of human psychology. People stop valuing what they can fully predict, what they can see coming from a mile away. And that, my friends, is exactly why they might not be chasing you even after you've walked away, because in their mind, you've become predictable, and predictability kills desire faster than anything else. Let's get real here. Imagine a movie where you can guess the ending within the first 10 minutes. No twists, no suspense, no surprises, just the same recycled plot playing out in front of your eyes. Would you pay attention? Would you lean forward in your seat? No. You'd probably pick up your phone and scroll through something more interesting. That's what happens when you're too easy to figure out. They stop leaning in. They stop caring, they stop chasing, and yet so many men confuse consistency with predictability. You think being always available, always texting back instantly, always agreeing, always showing up the same way makes you dependable. And yes, consistency has value. But when consistency crosses into monotony, it becomes boring. And boring kills attraction. Now, I know what you might be asking yourself. But isn't being steady and reliable what women want? Isn't predictability safe? And here's where the lie must be shattered. Yes, safety is attractive, but safety without excitement is suffocating. Think of it like food. Bread alone can keep you alive, but after eating plain bread every day for weeks, you start craving flavor, spice, something that awakens your senses. Attraction works the same way. If they can predict your every move, your energy loses its spark. Remember what Carl Jung once said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." There has to be reaction, transformation, energy exchange. If every interaction with you feels like déjà vu, where's the transformation? Where's the reaction that stirs them to chase? Let's paint another picture. Imagine you're dancing. If you keep stepping the exact same way, no rhythm change, no unexpected spins, no surprises, the dance gets dull. But when you add an unexpected turn, a pause, a new rhythm, it wakes the other person up. That's how human connection works. Without that element of surprise, there's no reason for them to stay on their toes, no reason for them to pursue. This is why predictability is dangerous, because it convinces you that you're doing the right thing, being steady, being good, being consistent, while underneath it erodes desire. Predictability is safe but unmemorable, and people don't chase safe. They chase what makes them feel alive. It's not about being manipulative, and it's not about playing games. It's about keeping a sense of mystery alive. It's about letting them wonder, what will he do next? Where is he going? How will he respond this time? That curiosity is fuel. Without it, your silence means nothing. They already know the script, and they're not interested in watching a rerun. So why do men fall into predictability? Fear. Fear of losing them, fear of making a mistake, fear that if you don't respond right away, if you don't follow the same pattern, they'll lose interest. But here's the paradox. It's that very fear-driven predictability that makes them lose interest. You think you're protecting the connection when in reality you're smothering it. The Stoics understood this well. Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." In other words, be willing to break the pattern, be willing to step outside the script, be willing to risk unpredictability, because it's in those moments that real attraction and curiosity are born. Yes, it will feel uncomfortable. Yes, it will feel risky. But ask yourself this, which man has more power? The one who always plays it safe and is easily replaced, or the one who keeps them guessing, keeps them awake at night, wondering what he's thinking, what he's doing, what he'll say next? That's the man who creates the chase. So here's where you rise, my friends. Stop repeating the same steps. Break the rhythm. Add new layers to your life, your personality, your actions. Let them see a man who cannot be boxed in, a man who surprises not with childish games, but with the depth of his character, the richness of his life, and the strength of his unpredictability. And here's your affirmation for today. Write it boldly in the comments. Claim it. Let the world see it. I am mystery, I am depth, I am unforgettable. Because when you live this truth, predictability dies and curiosity is reborn. Stay with me, my friends, because what comes next will dig even deeper into why they still aren't chasing you. We've handled predictability. Next, we're going to expose the hidden factor that makes even your silence powerless, the lack of emotional investment. Don't move. The truth only gets sharper from here. Number 3. They're not emotionally invested yet. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. That was Seneca, and it cuts right into the heart of why they might still not be chasing you. You imagine that walking away should trigger longing, that silence should sting enough to make them run after you. But if they were never emotionally invested in the first place, your absence doesn't feel like a loss. It feels like nothing. That's the brutal truth many don't want to face. Let me paint you a picture, folks. Imagine you're holding a rope in a tug-of-war. On your end, your hands are tight, your arms are straining, your feet are digging into the dirt. But on the other end, they never even picked up the rope. You're pulling with all your energy, but they aren't even in the game. When you finally let go, you think the sudden release will shock them, that they'll stumble and rush to grab it. But how can they stumble when they were never holding on? That's emotional investment. If they never grabbed hold, there's nothing for them to chase when you walk away. And I know the question's running through your mind. But why weren't they invested? Didn't they like me? Didn't we have good conversations? Didn't we share moments? Yes, maybe you did. But moments aren't enough to create roots. Attraction without emotional depth is like rain falling on pavement. It makes a splash, then disappears. For someone to chase you, they must feel like they're losing something irreplaceable. If the connection never went beyond surface level, silence doesn't burn, it evaporates. Here's where so many fall into the lie. You think attention equals investment. You think a few laughs, a few texts, a few flirtatious glances mean they're all in. But attention is cheap, and investment is rare. Emotional investment is built when you go beyond the surface. When you listen instead of just hearing, when you understand instead of just nodding, when you create a sense of safety, fun, and depth that makes them feel they've found something rare. Without that, you're just another face in the crowd, another conversation easily replaced, another nice guy who disappears and is forgotten. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." And here's how it applies here. Stop trying to trick someone into investing in you with silence or games. Become the kind of man they naturally invest in. Someone who challenges them in healthy ways, who sparks curiosity, who brings depth, humor, and ambition. That's the foundation that makes silence powerful. Without it, silence is just empty air. Think of emotional investment like building a fire. You can't just strike a match and expect the flame to stay. You need wood, oxygen, patience. You need to feed it, build it, protect it. Only then does the fire grow strong enough to survive when the wind blows. If you never built that fire, then when you step away, there's no warmth to miss, no light to long for. And yes, this is difficult to hear, because it forces you to face the possibility that maybe you never gave them a reason to truly connect. Maybe you rushed. Maybe you thought attraction was enough. Maybe you leaned on tactics instead of substance. And now you're sitting in silence, waiting for a chase that will never come. But here's the good news. This isn't a failure. It's feedback. It's life showing you exactly where you need to grow. The Stoics would tell you not to mourn what was never yours. Don't grieve the absence of a chase if there was never true connection to begin with. Instead, focus on becoming a man who inspires investment naturally, a man whose presence makes people feel seen, heard, and understood, a man whose absence is felt not because he plays games, but because he added value that can't be replicated. And let me add a little humor here, because sometimes the truth stings too sharply. You know what ignoring someone without emotional investment is like? It's like a magician trying to perform a disappearing act before the audience has even noticed he's on stage. Nobody gasps, nobody claps. They just look around, confused, because they didn't know the show had even started. That's the danger of trying to use absence before presence has left a mark. So rise above the fear. Stop asking, why aren't they chasing me? And start asking, what kind of bond did I build? What emotional roots did I plant? Because when the roots are deep, absence creates longing. When the roots are shallow, absence creates nothing. Here's your affirmation for today. Write it loud in the comments. Let the world see it. Let yourself believe it. I build bonds that can't be replaced. Say it, claim it, live it. Because when you build true emotional investment, you'll never have to worry about whether silence will make them chase. It will happen naturally. Stay with me, because we're only getting started. We've exposed predictability, we've uncovered the truth about emotional investment, and next, we're going to shine a light on a factor even more brutal, the reality of options in today's world. You don't want to miss it. Number 4, they have other options. He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. That was Nietzsche. But flip it around for attraction. If they have too many whys, too many reasons to look elsewhere, they'll never bear the how of chasing you. And this is the reality you need to face, my friends. In today's world, they're surrounded by options, constant flashing, endless options. If you don't stand out, if you don't bring something they can't replace, why would they chase you when another hand is already reaching out? Let's imagine it together. You're at a grand buffet. The tables stretch as far as the eye can see, endless plates of food, colors, scents, variety. Now, you've placed your dish on the table, simple and plain, maybe even good. But will anyone fight for it, chase after it, crave it, when they know 100 other plates are right beside it? That's the brutal truth of modern dating. Social media, apps, constant attention. It's a buffet. And if you're not unique, if you're not unforgettable, you're just another plate that gets passed over without a second thought. Now, I know the thought that just hit you. Wait, if there are always more options, then how can I ever win? Am I just doomed? That fear is real. It gnaws at you, makes you feel powerless. But here's where the lie must be shattered. Yes, they have options. Yes, the supply of attention is endless. But value, real, deep, undeniable value, is rare. And it's rarity that commands pursuit. Diamonds aren't chased because they're everywhere. They're chased because they're scarce. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Because a thing seems difficult for you, do not think it impossible for anyone to accomplish." Building yourself into someone rare in a world of copies is difficult, but it's far from impossible. In fact, it's exactly what you must do if you want them to see you not as an option, but as the option. Let's break this down. If you've been ignoring them, thinking silence will stir their curiosity, but you never gave them a reason to feel like you were one of a kind, your absence will be filled by someone else's presence. They won't chase because they don't need to. Why chase one man who's silent when 5 others are talking, validating, entertaining? That's how the modern world works. Attention is everywhere, but depth, that's scarce. Think about it this way. In a crowded marketplace, vendors scream louder and louder, each trying to sell the same thing. But then one stall quietly stands out, not because it shouts, but because what it offers is unlike anything else. People walk past the noise and line up for that. That's how you must operate. Don't compete with noise. Rise above it with uniqueness. The difficult part, it requires patience. It requires discipline. It requires you to stop asking, why aren't they chasing me? And start asking, what am I offering that no one else can? Because if your answer is shallow, just looks, just attention, just the same lines 100 others give, then you already know why they're not chasing. And I'll give you a lighter metaphor, because sometimes a little humor cuts sharper. Ignoring someone without offering uniqueness is like walking out of a store where dozens of salesmen are selling the same plain white t-shirt. You think your leaving will make them run after you, but why would they? There are racks full of identical shirts. If you want to be chased, you can't be the t-shirt. You've got to be the rare designer piece, the one that turns heads, the one they know they won't find anywhere else. Yes, it's brutal. Yes, it's unfair, but it's also empowering, because the second you accept that options are everywhere, you stop trying to win with silence alone. You start building. You start becoming irreplaceable. You start showing that walking away from you isn't just losing a person. It's losing an experience, a feeling, a force that no one else can replicate. And here's the motivation you need to hold on to. Don't fear the options. Don't resent them. Use them as fuel. Let the crowded marketplace remind you that your path is to rise above, not blend in. Become the man who doesn't just demand attention, but commands it naturally, the one they compare every option to and none measure up. So here's your affirmation today. Write it in the comments. Claim it. Let the world see it. I am not an option. I am the choice. Say it, repeat it, live it. Because when you truly believe this, you stop begging for the chase and start embodying the man they'll chase without hesitation. Stay with me, my friends, because this journey only gets harder and sharper. We've broken down predictability, we've exposed emotional investment, and we've just faced the reality of options. But next, we're going to confront the hardest truth of all, the truth nobody wants to admit. And once you face that, you'll never see silence, absence, or attraction the same way again. Don't go anywhere. Number 5. They're just not that interested. You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. That's Marcus Aurelius, and it's a gut punch because it forces you to face reality instead of hiding in fantasy. And the reality, my friends, is this. Sometimes they're just not that interested. That's it. Not because you failed. Not because you weren't enough. Not because you didn't play the game right. But simply because attraction wasn't there. And this is the hardest truth to accept, because it leaves no excuses, no tactics, no illusions left to cling to. Picture this. You're standing in front of a locked door, knocking, waiting, hoping it will open. You believe that if you knock long enough, if you knock quietly enough, or if you stop knocking altogether, maybe the door will finally swing wide. But here's the truth. Sometimes the door was never meant for you. No matter how long you wait outside, no matter what strategy you try, that door stays shut. And when you finally realize that, it stings, it cuts your pride, but it also sets you free. I know the questions that echo in your mind. Why don't they see me? Why don't they value me? Wasn't I good enough? And then comes the spiral of fear. Maybe I'll never be wanted. Maybe I'll always be invisible. Maybe I'll never be enough for anyone. This is where men break down, where they start chasing harder, where they start begging for scraps of attention, thinking persistence will spark attraction. But here's the lie you must kill right now. Attraction cannot be forced. If they don't feel it, they don't feel it. Period. Seneca said, "If a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable." In other words, you cannot drift in circles, hoping winds of fate will carry you into someone's heart. You can't anchor your worth to whether or not someone else sees it. And yet, that's what so many men do. They believe silence will create attraction where none existed. But absence doesn't create love. It only magnifies what was already there. And if there was nothing there to begin with, silence only creates emptiness. Here's the brutal part. Realizing they're not that interested is painful because it destroys your ego. It forces you to face that you were more invested than they were. That you built castles in your mind while they barely noticed the sand. And yet, here's the beauty in that pain. It redirects you. It teaches you to stop begging for someone's chase and start chasing your own growth, because the right person doesn't need tricks. They don't need silence. They don't need absence. The right person sees you and knows. Let me give you another metaphor, my friends. Attraction is like a spark. If it's there, a single touch can ignite a flame. If it's not there, you can strike the match 100 times and it'll never burn. That doesn't mean the match is useless. It just means it wasn't the right material. You're not broken. You're not worthless. You just gave your energy to someone who wasn't built to hold it. And here's the truth the Stoics lived by. You cannot control how others feel, only how you respond. Epictetus said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. Their interest, or lack of it, is beyond your control. Your growth, your worth, your path, that's in your hands. So why chain yourself to the illusion of making them care? Why spend nights awake, hoping your silence will turn into magic, when the reality is they simply aren't invested? And yes, it's difficult, it hurts, but it's also liberating. Because once you accept they're not that interested, you stop waiting. You stop wasting energy on proving your value to the wrong person. You stop seeing their lack of chase as a reflection of your worth. And instead, you start building a life that attracts those who are meant to see you. Here's where the shift happens. Stop asking, "Why aren't they chasing me?" Start declaring, "If they don't chase me, they're not meant for me." That's the mindset that frees you. That's the mindset that transforms silence from a game into a filter. The wrong ones drift away, the right ones step closer. And now it's time for you to claim your power. Write this in the comments. Let yourself see it. Let the world around you see it. If they don't choose me, I choose myself. Say it again. I choose myself. Because when you live by that, you stop begging for doors to open and start building your own house. Stay with me, folks, because we've faced predictability, emotional investment, and now the painful truth of disinterest. But the story isn't done. In the next part, we're going to expose why sometimes their silence isn't rejection at all. It's a test. And how you respond to that test will decide whether they respect you or forget you. Don't go anywhere. The truth gets sharper from here. Number 6. They're testing your commitment. How long are you going to wait before you demand the best for yourself? That's Epictetus, and it's a challenge, not a comfort. Because sometimes, my friends, the reason they're not chasing you isn't that they don't care. It's that they're testing you. They want to see if you'll fold under pressure, if you'll crack when the silence stretches, if you'll betray your own strength just to win their approval. It's not always rejection, it's examination, and most men fail it. Picture this. You're climbing a mountain with someone watching from above. Every step you take, every stumble you recover from, they're watching quietly, saying nothing. You look up, expecting encouragement, applause, maybe a helping hand. But all you see is silence, and you start to panic. Why aren't they saying anything? Why aren't they helping me? That's when many give up, turn back, and prove exactly what the silence was testing, whether you could keep climbing without validation. That's what's happening when they pull back. It's not always disinterest. Sometimes it's a test of your endurance, your emotional grounding, your commitment to staying strong. And I know the question's swirling in your head. Why would they test me like that? Isn't it manipulative? Isn't it unfair? Maybe it is. But human beings, especially in relationships, often test without even realizing they're doing it. It's protection. It's fear of being hurt. It's the unconscious way they ask, "Are you really who you say you are, or will you collapse under pressure like everyone else?" And that's why so many men lose at this stage, because the silence scares them into chasing, begging, over-explaining, proving not strength but weakness. Here's the lie you must break. You think their distance is an invitation to prove yourself louder, to try harder, to break your own boundaries just to reassure them. But commitment isn't proven by desperate chasing. It's proven by calm endurance, by staying grounded, by showing that your value doesn't depend on their immediate response. Think of a tree in a storm. The wind howls, the branches shake, but the roots hold firm. That's you, my friends. When they test you with silence, with distance, with indifference, they're not looking for a man who panics at the first gust of wind. They're looking for a man who can root himself so deeply in his own worth that no storm moves him. And yes, this is hard. It's uncomfortable. It feels like rejection. It feels like abandonment. Your instincts scream, do something, say something, fix it before it's too late. But that's the trap, because the second you react from fear, you fail the test. You show that your worth depends on their attention, and nothing kills attraction faster than neediness disguised as effort. Remember what Marcus Aurelius said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." When silence comes, ask yourself, is it right to break my boundaries and beg? Is it true to pretend I'm calm when I'm actually frantic? No. The right thing is to stand firm, to show through action, not words, that you are a man of depth, patience, and strength. Let me give you a metaphor to lighten this up, but still hit deep. Ignoring someone's test by chasing them is like a student who, instead of answering the exam, runs around the classroom shouting, "Look how hard I'm trying." The teacher doesn't care about the noise. They care about the answer. And the answer here is your composure, your groundedness, your refusal to fold. So rise above the fear. See their silence for what it is, not always rejection, but a mirror asking, can you stay strong when I step back? Can you trust your own worth without my reassurance? Can you hold the line when it feels like you're standing alone? If you can, you pass. And passing means respect. Passing means curiosity. Passing means they'll see you as different from all the others who failed. Here's your affirmation for today, and I want you to write it in the comments. Declare it. Let it echo in your own mind. My strength is proven in silence. Say it, show it, live it. Because when you master this, their test becomes your victory. Stay with me, my friends, because next we'll go even deeper. Sometimes it's not just a test of your patience, it's a test of whether you can handle the chase itself. And that truth will shake the way you see attraction forever. Don't go anywhere. The lesson is just getting sharper. Number 7, they want to see if you can handle the chase. Self-control is strength. Right thought is mastery. Calmness is power. James Allen wrote that, and it speaks directly to the battlefield you're standing on right now. Because sometimes, folks, the reason they're not chasing you isn't rejection. It's not disinterest. It's not that you're invisible. It's because deep down, they want to see if you can handle the chase itself. They want to know if you can stand steady in the fire without flinching, if you can hold the line without breaking, if you're a man who bends to pressure or a man who remains unshakable. Picture this. You're in a game of chess. Every move you make is calculated, deliberate, but then your opponent pauses. They don't move. They don't speak. They just sit there, silent, staring at the board. And what happens? You start to squirm, you start to overthink, you start to wonder if they've already won, if you missed something, if you should rush. That's the test, not the game itself, but your ability to sit in the silence without making a desperate move. That's how attraction works too. Sometimes they're not chasing because they're testing if you're strong enough to handle the push and pull, the unpredictability, the tension that makes desire real. And here's where most men fall apart. The second the silence stretches, they panic. They run back in, desperate to re-establish control, to get reassurance, to feel safe. They send the text, they call, they show up. And in that very moment, they reveal weakness. Not because they care, but because they couldn't handle the waiting. And once you show you can't handle the chase, you've lost the game. Now I know the questions burning in your mind. Why would they test me like this? Isn't attraction supposed to be natural? Isn't this just manipulation? Maybe. But life itself is a test, my friends. We test people without even realizing it. You test your friends. Do they show up when you need them? You test opportunities. Do they prove themselves worth the risk? And in relationships, the test is simple. Can you handle the emotional dance without losing yourself? Because if you can't, you're forgettable. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. That's the entire point of this stage. They're not watching how perfectly you play the game. They're watching how you handle not knowing, not controlling, not being in charge. That's what separates men who are pursued from men who are discarded. Think of it like taming fire. Fire doesn't chase anyone. It burns, it flickers, it draws people in by its very nature. But if you can't stand near the flame without flinching, if you can't resist the urge to throw water on it or run from it, you're not ready. They want to see if you can handle their fire, their unpredictability, their silence, their shifts in energy without folding. Because if you fold, you prove you were never really strong enough to begin with. And yes, this is uncomfortable. Yes, it feels unfair. But ask yourself this: which man is more attractive? The one who panics the second they don't get validation, or the one who stays calm, collected, unbothered, knowing his worth doesn't rise and fall with someone else's attention? The answer is obvious. Calmness is power, and power attracts. Let me give you a lighter metaphor. Handling the chase is like waiting for bread to rise in the oven. If you keep opening the door, poking it, panicking that it's not baking fast enough, you ruin it. But if you trust the process, if you let the heat work, the bread rises perfectly. The silence, the waiting, the unpredictability, it's the heat. And if you can handle it without opening the door too soon, that's when the result comes. So here's where you rise above. Stop fearing the chase. Stop resenting the silence. See it for what it is, a test of your strength, your composure, your mastery over yourself. This isn't about playing hard to get. It's about becoming unshakable. A man who doesn't fold, doesn't beg, doesn't break. A man who can stand tall in silence, who can smile through uncertainty, who can wait without fear. That's the man they chase. And here's your affirmation for today, my friends. Write it in the comments. Declare it to yourself. Show it to the world. I don't chase approval. I embody strength. Say it, believe it, live it. Because when you master this, you stop being another man scrambling for attention, and you become the man who naturally draws it. Thank you for watching.